With the Knicks getting through halfway of the season in the NBA schedule, it's time to talk about some of the positives, some of the negatives for this season. And I'm here to break it all down. What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. New York or nowhere, even though I live in LA. Mr. Queens all day, Dariel. So the next couple videos that I'm going to be putting out, it's kind of within the format of, like, if you're having a conversation with one of your friends and then your friend tells you, or he asks you, do you want the good news or do you want the bad news first? Me personally, I'm always going to take the bad news first. I want to get that out of the way. And then upon hearing the positive news right after the negative, it's just going to uplift my spirits. So first and foremost, let's get into the negative and what I've seen for the first half of the season. And let's get right into it, man. Ariel Hukporti and the lack of a bench. Now, what do I mean by Ariel Hukporti and the lack of a bench? The lack of a bench, obviously, we just don't have bench depth. That is and has been the biggest question mark for the Knicks this season. And with Cat being out right now with his sprained thumb and the bone chip in his finger, it's just going to raise a lot of questions. But what I want to start off specifically is Ariel Hukporti. Now, the reason why I put Ariel Hukporti in the negative side of things is because I think us as a fan base, the Knicks fan base, we see the potential that Ariel Hukporti has. And then when you compare it to the other big men that we have in our lineup, backing up Cat, Precious Achiuwa, and Jericho Sims, like, I think a lot of the Knicks fan base were a little frustrated with Coach Tibbs, and we're kind of at a point where, like, we know about his relationship with the rookies and how he doesn't trust the rookies and he really depends on his guys. But Cat being out and depending on Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims, like, I don't really understand why Coach Tibbs is having a hard time just giving Ariel Hukporti more minutes. For the season, like, he's averaging 7.9 minutes, which is basically 8 minutes, 1.9 rebounds, 1.6 points, and 0.7 blocks. And like I said to start off this segment, like, Ariel Hukporti has shown his potential. He's shown glimpses. And then when you're comparing it to Jericho Sims, which he started in yesterday's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, Jericho Sims, man, as much as I wanted him to succeed and I wanted him to really prove us wrong, it just seems like he is who he is and not a lot is going to change. He has all the athletic ability in the world. We've seen glimpses. We've seen little scenarios where he's putting people on posters. But I just don't think Jericho Sims is going to be the answer that we need in order to back up Cat. Precious Achiuwa, yeah, he's a little better than Jericho Sims. It seems like he's a little bit more offensively aggressive. He's a good defender. I'm not going to hate on Precious. He's definitely a good defender, good rim protector. He's a little bit more confident than Jericho Sims. But when we're talking about April, which this is all about, are we really going to be happy with Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims backing up Karl-Anthony Towns? Karl-Anthony Towns in the starting five, he's not a five, he's a natural four. He's been letting it be known that he wants to be a power forward, but he's going to do what he does. He is a team player. He's going to do what he has to do for the team to succeed. But that's going to put Cat in peculiar situations, and more specifically, is going to get him into foul trouble, where he's going to be banging against other bigs in the league. And that's why the most recent season with the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's why they had a really good season. They had Rudy Gobert to challenge Jokic and the other bigs in the Western Conference. And then Cat was able to roam and use his advantages at the 4 spot. But that's not where we're at right now. Right now, we have Cat at the 5, and the trade deadline is February 6th. And we're going to see if Leon Rose and World Wide West, we're going to see if they're going to be able to make a move. Now, Precious last offseason, he signed a 1-year deal, and I believe it was about $6 million, and it was for just one season. So his contract is definitely movable, and I really do think that he is going to be the primary player that's going to be included in a trade package. For who? We don't know. Nick Richards was rumored to be linked to the Knicks for so long, but now he's got shipped off to Phoenix, so that's not going to happen. There's a bunch of other bigs. We got Jonas Valanciunas. We got Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls, Walker Kessler. So there's still bigs out there that we can make a move for, and I think that's going to be the biggest question mark that we need to have answered. We need to get support for Cat 100%. But now, moving off of the bigs, we also got to talk about just the rest of the bench. Right now, our bench is being led by Deuce, Cam, and Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet is coming off of that shoulder injury, and he was supposed to be with the Knicks for the entire season, but he messed it up in preseason, and then he was with the G League, the Westchester Knicks for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we talked about Precious, Jericho Sims, the two bigs. Now, as far as like the perimeter players, Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, and Cameron Payne. Those are the main three players coming off the bench. Everybody else, Tyler Kolek is a rookie, and just like I described in the beginning of the video, Coach Tibbs doesn't really trust his rookies. So there's that. Jacob Toppin, like young player, again, Coach Tibbs is not going to rock with that. He only really cares about his guys. And now specifically talking about Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne, and Deuce McBride, I think they're going to be focused more on the bigs this upcoming trade deadline. You never know. They might be targeting some wing players, but I'm not sure how I feel about the rotation of Deuce, Cameron Payne, and Landry Shamet. They'll definitely be able, between those three, they'll definitely be able to give Jalen Brunson some rest, specifically in April in the playoffs. You guys know my feelings about Cameron Payne. For most of, if not all of his career, he's been looked at as this like offensive punch coming off the bench, and everywhere he's went to, I don't really think he's really shown up. I don't know. Last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think he ended with 18 points, and 16 of those came in the first or second quarter. And I think he only played like 13 minutes in last night's game. So you can maybe attribute that to Coach Tibbs and not maybe realizing that he has someone who's hot, who has the hot hand. But I'm not sure exactly what happened in last night's game. The point I'm trying to make is a rotation of Deuce, Landry Shamet, and Cameron Payne, specifically Cameron Payne. I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. Landry Shamet, hopefully he's not going to have any hiccups with that shoulder injury. Hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy for the rest of the season. Deuce has taken steps in his career. I mean, the opening night where we were in Boston, I think he was 100% from the field. He might have missed one shot, but I think we got blown out. But Deuce was definitely the main highlight of that opening night game that we had in Boston. And the confidence level that he has within himself is definitely grown. I'm definitely impressed. I'm definitely happy to see that with Deuce. But again, man, playoffs are a different animal, man. And then we're not going to be able to know until April comes around. Now, moving on to the next one, the Iron Men of the NBA. And this is specifically talking about the minutes that the starting five are playing this season. More recently, there was an article or maybe like a report just being put out as far as the top 10 players for this season averaging the most minutes. We got Mikal Bridges at number 1 with 39 minutes, Josh Hart at number 2 with 37.8, so we could round that up to 38 minutes. And we got OG Anunoby at 36.6, which is 37 minutes. So 3 of the top 10 players are New York Knickerbockers. Number 10 is Jason Tatum. Number 9 is Jalen Johnson. Number 8 is Anthony Edwards. Number 6 is Jokic. 5, Devin Booker. 4, De'Aaron Fox. And number 3 is Tyrese Maxey. So that is to round out the top 10 players for this season, averaging the most minutes. And this is something that the Knicks fan base, we've known with Coach Tibbs. This is something that just hoopers know with Coach Tibbs, that he likes to, I guess you can say, run his players into the ground. His players play 38, 37 minutes on January 3rd in a meaningless game. Now, I can see it from two angles. I can see it from the more minutes the starters play, the more in sync they'll be. But then at the same time, if you're playing these players 40 minutes on January 3rd on a Monday night, like, you're putting them at risk to getting injured. So it's very difficult for me to have a feeling regarding that, because I can see it from both ways. But if you guys were to, make me make a decision, like, I would not want my players to be playing 40 minutes on January 3rd on a Monday night. But this is Coach Tibbs' thing. This is what he does. He's done that with the Chicago Bulls. He did it with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And here with the New York Knicks is no different. And I hate to say it, but I'll be the guy to raise the question. Is Coach Tibbs going to be the guy to lead us over the hump, get us over the hump, lead us to the promised land? And when I say promised land, I mean an NBA championship. To answer that question, I'm saying no. I don't think Coach Tibbs is going to be that guy. I think he's going to be the guy to get us to an Eastern Conference Finals. But anything beyond that, getting us to the NBA Finals, winning an NBA Finals, I don't think that's going to be him. And part of the reason why is because the biggest criticism that Coach Tibbs has is his in-game adjustments. He's very, he has a game plan for a particular series, for a particular player, and a game plan for how he's going to use his players throughout the season, and he sticks to it. When has there ever been a conversation? When have you seen a thread on Twitter? When have you seen any of the NBA talking head shows talk about Coach Tibbs and how good of an in-game adjuster he is? I've never seen it. I don't think anybody could ever point to an article, a report, anything on Twitter, any of the ESPN talking head shows, a podcast episode. I don't think anybody is able to point to one specific thing where they're talking about Coach Tibbs' adjustment. And if they are talking about it, they're talking about it in a not positive way. That's just who Coach Tibbs is. We're not going to get him to change his philosophy. And if we're looking at the more recent games, I'm going to go back to January 12th against the Bucks. We got Mikal Bridges at 37, OG at 31, Cat at 36, Jalen Brunson at 29, Josh Hart at 35. I believe that game was pretty much a blowout by the beginning of the fourth quarter. So that's why these numbers are looking a little low for some players. But the game right after that, January 13th on Monday in the Garden, where we took that L to Detroit, Mikal Bridges, 37, OG, 39, Karl-Anthony Towns played 43, Brunson, big body Brunson played 39, and Josh Hart played 38. So the starting five that night, the least amount of minutes between the starting five was 37 minutes with Mikal, and then Cat played the most with 43. Then the game after that was Wednesday when we went into Philly and took that W in OT. Mikal Bridges at 43, OG at 45, Cat didn't play that game. Jalen Brunson at 45, Josh Hart at 49. Yikes, man. Jesus, that's pretty rough to see. And then the game after that, which was last night's loss in the Garden to the T-Wolves, we had Mikal at 39, OG at 38, Jalen Brunson at 36, and Josh Hart at 38. So, I mean, it tracks, man. It tracks, and it's going to be very interesting to see if the players hold up. And if I'm going to be talking about the players specifically holding up, we got to talk about one player specifically. And that player, everybody say it with me, is OG. OG is known to start breaking down around playoff time. We're looking at the March area. March going into April. And in April, in the playoffs, he has a little bit of a reputation of breaking down when he's in the actual playoffs. And last year, he had that elbow situation, like in January, February, after he got traded to the Knicks. And then he missed a bunch of games, and then he came back. But in the playoffs, what ended up happening? He ended up straining that hamstring. He tried to come back for Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers, and I think he hit his only 2 shots that he took. But he looked like an absolute mummy out there, not able to move. Salute to you, OG, for giving us everything you got. Appreciate it. But as a realist, as a fair critiquer, we got to point out what has transpired in your career. And what has transpired is you not being available in certain situations, important situations. So it's just going to be very interesting to see the players that are going to be able to hold up. Hopefully they're going to be able to hold up going into the playoffs. That's one thing. And then hopefully we gotta wait and see if they're going to be able to hold up in the actual playoffs, in the actual series. So it's going to be very interesting. But this is part 1 of a 2-part series, and I decided to give you guys the negative things or some areas of concern that I've seen for the first half of the video. But you guys know the drill. You know the vibes. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought. Did I miss something? Is there something that I didn't hit upon? But let me know in the comments. But until next time, Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The Deuce is loose for co-MVP. OG Anunoby for Defensive Player of the Year. And Taj Gibson, always in our hearts for President, New York forever. And also Queens forever. Queens get the money. Yeah, I know the drill. But I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.